Have you ever said something and immediately regretted it? Or shared a part of your life only to realize later that it was never meant for public ears? We live in a world that celebrates transparency. Be open, be authentic, they say. And while authenticity is powerful, there's a fine line between being real and being reckless. There are some things that once exposed can never be taken back. And today, I want to share 12 of them. 1. Your long-term goals too soon. Ever notice how when you tell people about a big dream, you feel like you've already accomplished something? That's because our brains release dopamine, the same chemical that rewards actual achievement. But the problem? That false sense of accomplishment often kills motivation. Keep your big goals close until action speaks louder than words. 2. Your family's flaws. Every family has its imperfections, but exposing them to outsiders doesn't fix anything. It just weakens the foundation. If there's a problem, fix it internally. Because loyalty isn't about hiding truth, it's about protecting trust. 3. Your income. Whether you make too much or too little, sharing it openly does one of two things: invites unnecessary comparisons or makes someone uncomfortable. Neither serves a good purpose. Let your lifestyle speak, not your bank account. 4. Your acts of kindness. True generosity needs no audience. If you give, give because it's right, not because it earns you applause. The most powerful acts of kindness are the ones nobody sees. 5. Your next move in life. Not everyone claps when you win. Some will secretly hope you fail. Keep your next step private and let your success be the announcement. 6. Your past mistakes to everyone. Yes, we should own our mistakes, but not every mistake deserves a stage. Some confessions heal, while others open wounds that were better left closed. Share your past with those who deserve to learn from it, not those who might weaponize it. 7. Your love life's details. A relationship is like a house. The foundation is strongest when the details stay inside. Too much exposure invites too many opinions, many of which do more harm than good. 8. Your deepest fears. Fear makes us human, but not everyone deserves to see our vulnerabilities. Share them with those who will lift you, not those who will use them against you. 9. Your religious or political beliefs. Beliefs are the signs of an unhealthy diet. Discussion is healthy, debate is fine, but some places, some situations, and some people don't want a discussion. They want to fight. Know when to speak and when to walk away. 10. Your friend's secrets. Trust is the currency of relationships. Once spent, it's hard to earn back. If someone shares something in confidence, protect it. That's not just respect, that's integrity. 11. Your next business idea before it's ready. Ideas are fragile. When they're young, they need protection. Talk less, build more. Because execution is the only proof that an idea was ever worth something. 12. Your personal struggles. We all go through hard times, and while vulnerability is powerful, it needs the right audience. Share your struggles with those who genuinely care, not those who are just curious. We often think that being open makes us strong, but real strength lies in knowing what to share and what to safeguard, because when we protect the right things, we protect our peace, our purpose, and our power. Have you ever said something and immediately wished you could take it back? Maybe you shared a dream too soon, only to feel the weight of expectations suffocating you. Or maybe you confided in someone who didn't deserve to hear your truth, and later you found your own words working against you. We live in a world that celebrates openness. We're told to share, to be authentic, to let people in. And while authenticity is powerful, there's a difference between being open and being exposed. Some things once spoken can never be unsaid. Some doors once opened can never be closed the same way again. Imagine this: you're working on something big, a dream, a goal, a plan that excites you. The moment you tell people about it, you feel a rush of energy like you're already on your way. But here's what most people don't realize. When you announce your plans too early, your brain rewards you as if you've already achieved them. That little burst of dopamine tricks you into thinking you've made progress, even when nothing has changed. And the worst part, if you tell the wrong people, they might not cheer you on. They might doubt you, question you, make you second guess everything. Think about the moments you've had with family, the little arguments, the tensions that exist in every home. In those moments, venting to an outsider might seem harmless, but once those words leave your mouth, they shape how others see your family. Problems inside a family should be solved within it, not because we should hide our struggles, but because trust is built in private, not in public judgment. Empathy takes trust, growth, and skill to build, not the subspending of corpses against the heads of our family. Money is another strange thing. If you earn too much and talk about it, it invites envy. If you earn too little, it invites pity. Either way, it changes how people treat you. I once knew someone who got a raise and couldn't wait to tell everyone. Suddenly, friends started expecting them to pick up the tab, and family members hinted at loans. What was once a personal achievement became an invisible burden. Then there's kindness. We all want to be good people, to help where we can, but the most powerful acts of kindness are the ones nobody sees. Have you ever noticed how the loudest generosity often feels performative? A quiet act of giving, done without expectation, carries more weight than a publicized donation ever will. I had a friend who was working on a new project, something he was passionate about. He shared it with everyone, expecting support, but instead he got skepticism. Are you sure this will work? What if you fail? Those voices planted seeds of doubt in his mind. The project never took off, not because it wasn't good, but because too many opinions weakened his belief in it before he even began. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to keep your next step to yourself. Mistakes are part of being human, but not every mistake needs a stage. There's a difference between learning from your past and making your past your identity. Some confessions heal, while others open wounds that should have been left alone. It's not about hiding the truth, it's about choosing the right people to share with. Relationships, too, need privacy. We live in an era where every fight, every milestone, every little detail of a relationship is posted online for the world to see. But a relationship is like a house. If the foundation is strong, it doesn't need external validation. The more you expose, the more you invite opinions that don't belong. Fear is something we all carry, but it's not meant to be handed to just anyone. The wrong person won't lift you up. They'll use it against you. The right people, they'll stand beside you, reminding you that you're more than your fears. Beliefs, whether political, religious, or deeply personal, are important. But there's a difference between sharing and forcing. Some people want a conversation. Others want a battle. Not every room is the right place to speak your truth, and knowing when to listen instead of argue is a skill worth mastering. Trust is one of the rarest things in the world, and yet it's given away so easily. A friend's secret is not yours to tell. It's not just about loyalty, it's about integrity. What someone confides in you is not meant for public discussion. If they wanted the world to know, they would have shared it themselves. Ideas are fragile. A great idea spoken too soon can be crushed before it even has a chance to grow, not because it wasn't good, but because the wrong people heard it too early. There's a reason why some of the most successful people work in silence before they make an announcement. Because by the time the world sees it, it's no longer an idea, it's a reality. Personal struggles. We all go through things, and yes, vulnerability is powerful, but not everyone deserves access to your pain. Some will listen to help, others will listen to gossip. Knowing the difference can save you from unnecessary heartache. You ever have one of those moments where you say something and immediately regret it? Like the words are barely out of your mouth and you're already wishing you could snatch them back? Maybe you shared something personal with the wrong person, or you opened up about a dream too soon, and suddenly people's opinions made you doubt yourself. We live in this age of radical openness. Share everything, be authentic, put yourself out there. And sure, there's a time and place for that. But there's also a difference between being open and being exposed. Some things, once they're out, you can't take back. And some things are just better left unsaid. Picture this, you've got this incredible idea, something that excites you, something you really believe in. And the second you tell someone, you feel a little rush, like you're already halfway there. That's because your brain rewards you just for talking about it. It gives you the same dopamine hit as if you'd already accomplished it. But here's the problem, that feeling of progress, it's fake. And worse, once you say it out loud, you've just invited the world's opinions in. Ooh, that's risky. Are you sure you can pull that off? What if it doesn't work? And suddenly, that thing you were so excited about, now it feels a little smaller, a little less possible. Then there's family. Every family has its quirks, its struggles, its messy parts, and sometimes in the moment, it's easy to vent to someone outside, your friend, your coworker, maybe even social media. But here's the thing, when the moment passes and things get better, you move on. The person you told, they don't. They don't see the love that outweighs the flaws. They only remember what you said, and now they look at your family differently. Some things are meant to stay inside the walls of the home. Not because we should pretend everything's perfect, but because some things are only meant to be worked out by the people who actually live them. And money, let's talk about money, because no matter which way you slice it, talking about how much you make just changes the room. Make too much, people assume things about you. Make too little, people pity you. Either way, it invites judgment, expectation, comparison. I had a friend once who got a big raise and he was so proud. until he told people. Suddenly, friends expected him to always pay. His family started hinting at loans, and what was supposed to be a personal win just became another weight on his shoulders. Now, kindness is one of those things that should never need an audience. Have you ever seen someone do something generous, but they made sure everyone knew about it? The kind of person who donates to charity and then posts about it with a long caption. It's not that generosity shouldn't be encouraged, it absolutely should. But the most meaningful acts of kindness are the ones nobody sees. They're the ones you do because they're right, not because they're recognized. Let's talk about plans. I knew a guy who had this brilliant idea for a business. He told everyone about it. He was so excited, and without realizing it, he invited in all these opinions, all these doubts. What if someone else is already doing it? That's going to be really hard to pull off. Are you sure you have the experience? And over time, little by little, those voices got to him. He never actually started. Not because he didn't believe in it, but because he let other people's fears become his own. We all make mistakes. It's part of being human. But there's a difference between owning your past and making your past your whole identity. Some things should be shared, but not everything. Because not everyone is going to hear your mistakes and think, wow, they've grown. Some people are just going to use it against you. Not every mistake needs a microphone. Relationships are another thing that don't need an audience. I get it. We live in a world where people post their anniversaries, their vacations, their just because, flowers. But real love, real connection, that's not something that needs public approval. The more you let people in, the more you let their opinions in too. And suddenly, a relationship that was just between two people now has all these extra voices whispering in the background. Then there's fear. We all have things we're afraid of, things that keep us up at night. But here's the thing, not everyone deserves access to your vulnerabilities. The wrong person won't comfort you, they'll use it against you. But the right person, they'll remind you that you're stronger than your fear. And that's the difference between confiding and exposing. Beliefs, whether they're political, religious, or just personal values, are important, but not every conversation is the right place to share them. Some people want to have a discussion, others just want to argue. And if someone's not actually interested in listening, then talking won't change a thing. Sometimes knowing when to stay silent is just as powerful as knowing when. Trust is one of the most valuable things we have, and yet it's so easy to give away. If someone tells you something in confidence, it's not your story to share. It's not just about respect, it's about integrity. Because once trust is broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Ideas are fragile. A new idea when it's first born is like a little flame. It needs protection. The wrong person can snuff it out before it ever has a chance to burn bright. That's why some of the most successful people work in silence. By the time the world sees what they've built, it's already too strong to be torn down. And then there's personal struggles. We all go through things, and sometimes talking helps. But not everyone you talk to actually cares. Some people listen because they want to help. Others listen because they're curious. And knowing the difference, that's what protects you from unnecessary hurt. Have you ever wondered why we feel the need to share so much? Why we instinctively open up about our dreams, our struggles, our fears, even to people who haven't earned that kind of access? It's because as human beings, we're wired for connection. We want to be understood. We want to feel seen. And we think that by sharing more, we'll bring people closer. But here's the catch. Not everyone listening is there to support you. Not every space is a safe one. And some things, once they're out in the open, take on a life of their own. The world has a funny way of twisting our words, reshaping our intentions, and turning our openness into something we never meant it to be. Think about your biggest dreams, those things that live deep inside you, the goals you hold close to your heart. Why do we feel the need to tell people about them the moment we think of them? It's because we crave validation. We want someone to tell us, that's a great idea, or I believe in you. And when we hear those words, it gives us a rush, a little boost of motivation. But here's what happens next. The second we speak our dreams out loud, they become vulnerable. People start questioning them. That sounds hard. Are you sure you can do that? What if it doesn't work? And suddenly, what once felt exciting now feels like something we need to defend. Not because it wasn't a good idea, but because we let doubt in too soon. Family is another tricky one. We all have moments where we get frustrated with the people closest to us. Maybe your parents don't understand you. Maybe your siblings drive you crazy. Maybe there's a long-standing issue that no one wants to talk about. And when emotions run high, it's tempting to vent, to tell a friend, to post about it, to get it off your chest. But why do we do it? Because in the moment, it feels good to be heard. It feels like relief. But later, when the anger fades and things go back to normal, the words we spoke are still out there. The problem with sharing family struggles with outsiders is that they don't see the full picture. They don't see the inside jokes, the love, the moments of quiet understanding. They only see what you told them. And once their opinion is formed, it rarely changes. Money is one of those things we're told not to talk about, but why is that? It's because money changes how people see us. If you're doing well financially and you talk about it, it can create distance. If you're struggling and you talk about it, it can make people uncomfortable. No matter which way you look at it, sharing financial details shifts the dynamic of a relationship. Why do we feel the need to do it then? Sometimes it's pride, sometimes it's insecurity, sometimes it's just wanting to be honest, but in most cases, it doesn't bring us closer to people, it just changes the way they interact with us. When we do something good, something kind, why do we sometimes feel the need to let people know? Because deep down, we want recognition, we want our goodness to be seen. But the truth is, the best acts of kindness are the ones that don't need an audience. When we give quietly without expecting anything in return, that's when it's truly meaningful. The moment we seek validation for it, we dilute its power. When we're excited about something we're working on, whether it's a project, a new job, or a big life change, why do we feel the urge to announce it before it's even real? Because we want encouragement. We want to hear people say, that's amazing. But the problem is, not everyone wants to see you succeed. Some people won't say it outright, but they'll plant little seeds of doubt. That's going to be tough. Are you sure you're ready for that? And once those seeds are planted, they're hard to unhear. That's why some of the most successful people keep their plans to themselves until they're fully formed. Because by the time the world knows, it's already too late for doubt to stop them. We all have a past. We've all made mistakes. And sometimes sharing those mistakes can be healing. But why do we share? Sometimes it's to help others feel less alone. Sometimes it's to prove we've changed. And sometimes it's because we're still carrying guilt and we think that by putting it out into the world, we can lessen its weight. But not everyone who hears your past will see your growth. Some people will only see the mistake. And that's why not every part of your story needs to be told to everyone. Love is one of the most personal things in life. Yet why do so many people feel the need to put every detail of their relationships on display? It's because we equate public validation with real connection. If people see how happy we are, it must mean the relationship is strong, right? But love doesn't need an audience. The strongest relationships aren't the ones that look perfect online. They're the ones that are built quietly, without the need for approval. We all have fears, but why do we sometimes share them with people who don't deserve to hear them? Because we hope they'll reassure us. We hope that by saying them out loud, they'll lose their power. But the wrong person won't make you feel safer, they'll make you feel smaller. They'll use your fears as leverage, as a weakness. And once they know what shakes you, they'll always have that knowledge in their back pocket. Our beliefs, whether they're religious, political, or deeply personal, shape who we are, and yet, why do we sometimes feel the need to debate them with people who have no intention of listening? Because we want to be understood. We want to change minds. But some people don't enter conversations to learn, they enter to win. And when we engage with those people, we don't walk away feeling heard. We walk away feeling drained. Trust is one of the most valuable things we have, yet why do we sometimes break it so easily? Because we underestimate the weight of our words. If someone confides in us, we might think it's just one person, it won't matter. But trust, once broken, rarely returns to what it was. And the cost of losing it is always greater than the momentary satisfaction of sharing. Ideas are fragile, especially in their early stages. So why do we sometimes share them before they're ready? Because we want feedback, encouragement, maybe even a little accountability. But the wrong kind of feedback too early can kill an idea before it even has a chance to grow. That's why the most brilliant thinkers don't announce their plans. They build them in silence. Because by the time the world sees it, it's already done. Struggles are part of life. We all go through things, and talking about them can be powerful. But why do we sometimes share our pain with people who don't truly care? Because we want empathy. We want to feel less alone. But not everyone listening actually has our best interests at heart. Some people are just curious. Some people will use our struggles as gossip. And some people will pretend to care only to walk away the moment we need them most. There's a reason we feel the need to share so much. It's because we're human. We want connection, we want understanding, we want to feel seen. But the truth is, not everything about us is meant for public consumption. Some things are meant to be protected, nurtured, and kept close. Because not every space is safe. And not every person deserves a front row seat to your life. There's something about human nature that makes us want to share. We crave connection. We want to be understood. We want to know that someone out there sees us, hears us, gets us. It's why we open up about our dreams before they've even taken shape. It's why we vent about family, talk about money, overshare online, and seek validation from people who don't always have our best interests at heart. But for all the openness we celebrate, there are some things that are better kept to ourselves. Not because we're hiding, but because some things need to be protected. Think about the last time you had a big idea, something that truly excited you. The moment you spoke it out loud, something shifted, didn't it? Maybe it was the way people reacted. A hesitant smile, a half-hearted, "that's cool," or worse, a flood of questions that made you second-guess yourself. That's the thing about dreams. They start as fragile little sparks, and when you expose them too soon, the wrong words, the wrong energy, the wrong moment can put them out before they even have a chance to catch fire. We think sharing will give us momentum, but more often than not, it just invites doubt, and doubt is a slow killer. Family is one of those things that's messy and complicated and deeply personal. Every family has problems, arguments, misunderstandings, long-standing tensions. And when you're in the heat of the moment, it feels good to let it out, to tell someone, to get it off your chest. But the thing about venting is that it only captures a snapshot of the story. The person you vent to doesn't see the full picture. They don't see the quiet moments of love, the inside jokes, the years of shared history that outweigh the rough patches. They only remember what you said in that moment. And once their perception shifts, it rarely shifts back. Money is another thing that changes the way people see you. If you have too much, it can create resentment. If you have too little, it can make people treat you differently. But money is never just about numbers, it's about perception. And the moment you make your finances public, you open the door for assumptions. The truth is, people don't always celebrate your success the way you expect them to. Sometimes they see what you have and wonder why they don't have it. Sometimes they start expecting more from you, and before you know it, your personal achievements become an unspoken responsibility to others. Kindness is something we all value, but the most powerful acts of kindness are the ones that don't need an audience. It's easy to share the good we do because we want to inspire others and maybe even get a little recognition. But the moment a good deed becomes about being seen, it loses something. True generosity happens in silence. It happens when there's no applause. It happens because it's right, not because it's noticed. When we're working on something big, a project, a new job, a major change, it's natural to want to share it. We think that talking about it will hold us accountable, that telling people will somehow push us to follow through. But too often, what we actually get is resistance. "That sounds tough. Are you sure? I heard someone else tried that and failed." And even if we don't believe them, those little comments start taking up space in our minds. And suddenly, what was once exciting now feels like a risk we have to justify. Some of the most successful people in the world operate in silence. Not because they're secretive, but because they understand that a dream needs to grow before it can withstand the weight of the world's opinions. Mistakes are a part of life. We all have a past, things we've done that we aren't proud of. And in the right space, with the right people, sharing those mistakes can be healing. But not everyone deserves access to our past, because not everyone will see how far we've come. Some people will only see where we fell. It's not about pretending to be perfect. It's about knowing which parts of our story should be shared and which parts should be left in the past where they belong. In Love is one of the most intimate experiences in life, yet we live in a time where relationships are put on display for the world to see. Anniversaries, vacations, date nights, everything is shared. And while there's nothing wrong with celebrating love, real relationships don't need validation from outsiders. The strongest bonds aren't the ones that look perfect in pictures. They're the ones built quietly, in moments that no one else sees. The more we expose, the more we invite the world's opinions into something that was never meant to be public in the first place. Fear is something we all carry, but not everyone should know what scares you. Some people will comfort you, remind you that you're stronger than your fears. But others will use that knowledge to keep you small. They'll remind you of your fears when it benefits them. They'll bring them up at the worst possible moments. And once someone knows what shakes you, they have a certain kind of power over you. That's why not every fear needs to be spoken out loud. Beliefs, whether they're political, religious, or deeply personal, are part of who we are. And while we want to share them to have conversations, to be understood, not everyone we speak to is interested in listening. Some people don't want a discussion, they want a debate. And in those cases, no amount of words will change their mind. Knowing when to engage and when to walk away is one of the most valuable skills a person can have. Happy living. Trust is one of the hardest things to build and the easiest thing to break. And yet, so many people give it away freely. If someone confides in you, that's not a story for you to tell. Trust is a gift, and once it's broken, it rarely gets rebuilt to what it once was. It's not just about keeping secrets, it's about being the kind of person who people know they can count on. Ideas are fragile things. When they're new, they need protection, they need time to grow. But when we share them too soon, we risk exposing them to people who don't understand them, who don't see the potential we see. And sometimes their doubts, their criticisms, their well-meaning advice can be enough to make us abandon something before it even has a chance to become real. That's why some of the greatest thinkers, the most successful creators, keep their ideas to themselves until they're ready to be shared. Because by the time the world sees it, it's already too strong to be torn down. Struggles are a part of life, and vulnerability is important. But not everyone you talk to actually cares. Some people listen to help, others listen to gossip, and some listen just to compare their struggles to yours. The wrong audience can turn vulnerability into a weakness. And while it's important to have people who support us, it's just as important to know who those people actually are. There's a reason why we feel the need to share so much. It's because we're human. We want to connect. We want to feel understood. We want to know that we're not alone. But connection isn't just about what we share. It's also about what we protect. Some things are meant to be kept close, not because they're secrets, but because they matter too much to be left unguarded. Some things aren't meant for the world. They're meant for you. We live in a world that celebrates openness. Share your thoughts, tell your story, be transparent. And while there is beauty in honesty, there is also power in discretion. Some things are meant to be protected, not because they are secrets, but because they hold value. Not everything needs to be spoken, not everything needs to be shared, and not everyone deserves access to the most personal parts of your life. When you have a dream, an idea that excites you, it's tempting to talk about it. We tell people because we crave validation, because we want someone to tell us, that's amazing, you should go for it. But the moment you put it out there, it becomes vulnerable. People start giving opinions, not all of them encouraging. That's going to be tough. Are you sure it will work? I heard someone try that and failed. And before you know it, the excitement you felt is replaced with doubt. An idea in its early stages is like a small flame, too much wind, and it goes out before it even has a chance to grow. That's why some of the most successful people keep their plans private. Because when you build in silence, no one can shake your foundation. Family is complicated. There are moments of joy, moments of frustration, and moments of struggle. And when we hit those rough patches, it feels good to vent. We call a friend, we post about it online, we unload our emotions. But the problem with venting is that it only captures one side of the story. When we're angry, we highlight the bad and forget the good. The people listening don't see the full picture. They don't see the years of love, the sacrifices, the moments that make it all worthwhile. And once their perception shifts, it's hard to change it back. Money is one of those topics that people tell you not to talk about, and for good reason. The moment people know what you have or what you don't have, things change. If you're doing well, people may assume you have more to give. If you're struggling, they may treat you differently. But at its core, money is personal. It's not about hiding anything. It's about keeping control over how people perceive you. Goodness is best practiced in silence. When we do something kind, we want to share it. We want people to know that we are giving, that we are making a difference. But the moment kindness becomes about recognition, it loses its purity. The most meaningful acts of generosity are the ones that require nothing in return. Not applause, not acknowledgement, not validation. New opportunities, career moves, big changes, these are things we often announce too soon. We think that by telling people, we are manifesting success, but more often than not, what we are doing is inviting unnecessary pressure. Once people know, they start watching, they start asking questions, and suddenly we are not just working towards our goal, we are performing for an audience. Some of the most accomplished individuals move in silence. They let their work speak for itself, and by the time the world sees the result, it's already done. The past has a way of following us. We all have moments we aren't proud of, choices we wish we had made differently, and sometimes talking about them can be freeing. But not everyone who listens will see your growth. Some people will only see the mistake. The past is a teacher, not a chain, and it doesn't need to be shared with everyone to serve its purpose. Love is personal. In a time when relationships are put on display, anniversaries, gifts, romantic gestures, it's easy to feel like love isn't real unless it's seen. But the strongest relationships aren't the ones that look perfect from the outside. They're the ones that are built quietly, without the need for validation. Love doesn't need an audience. It thrives in the small, unseen moments. Fear is something we all experience, but not everyone should know what scares you. Some people will reassure you, but others will use your fears as leverage. The wrong person can take what makes you vulnerable and use it to hold you back. Not all fears need to be spoken. Some need to be faced in silence. Beliefs, whether they're religious, political, or deeply personal, are at the core of who we are. And while we want to share them, not every conversation is worth having. Some people don't engage to understand, they engage to argue. And in those cases, no amount of explanation will change their mind. Some battles aren't worth fighting. Trust is one of the most valuable things you can give and one of the hardest things to rebuild once it's broken. When someone confides in you, it's not a story for you to share. Trust is fragile. It should be protected, not tested. Ideas, especially in their early stages, are fragile. They need time to grow before they are exposed to the world. The wrong feedback too soon can kill creativity before it even has a chance to take shape. That's why the greatest innovators don't announce their ideas, they develop them. They build before they broadcast. Struggles are real, and there is power in vulnerability, but not everyone deserves access to your pain. Some people listen to understand, others listen to gossip, and some listen just to compare their struggles to yours. Knowing who to trust with your struggles is just as important as knowing when to share them. In a world that pushes for more sharing, more openness, more validation, there is power in simplicity. Not everything needs to be said, not everything needs to be shared. Some things are meant to be protected because they are too valuable to be left unguarded. There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than words. Moments when holding back is not an act of secrecy, but an act of power. In a world that encourages constant sharing of thoughts, emotions, plans, struggles, there is strength in knowing when to pause, because not everything needs to be exposed. Some things are better left unspoken, not because they are secrets, but because when you have a new idea, something that excites you, something that makes your heart race, the natural instinct is to tell someone. You want to share the spark, feel the energy bounce back at you. But the moment you say it out loud, something shifts. The person listening might not see it the way you do. They might raise an eyebrow, ask a skeptical question, or unintentionally plant doubt where there was once only excitement. And just like that, the energy changes. Not all ideas are meant to be shared too soon. Some need space to grow before they can stand strong in the face of doubt. Family is a beautiful, complicated thing. There are joys and there are conflicts. There are moments when you feel deeply connected and moments when misunderstandings drive a wedge between you. In the heat of frustration, it's easy to talk about the problems, to vent to a friend, to post a cryptic message, to let the world know that things aren't perfect. But the problem with sharing frustration is that it captures a single moment, not the full picture. So you might move past the argument, but the person you told about it will remember. They weren't there for the apology, the quiet understanding, the love that overshadowed the disagreement. Some things are better kept within the walls of home. Money changes things. It changes the way people see you, how they treat you, and what they expect from you. Whether you have a lot or a little, making it public knowledge shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, people make assumptions. If you're doing well, they wonder why they aren't. If you're struggling, they might look at you differently. And the truth is, no one needs to know. Money is a tool, not an identity. And the less you invite opinions about it, the more control you have over your own path. Kindness is powerful when it is silent. In a world where good deeds are broadcasted for likes and validation, the purest acts of kindness are the ones that exist without an audience. When you help someone and expect nothing in return, not recognition, not appreciation, not a round of applause, you strip the act down to its essence. True generosity doesn't need to be seen, it simply needs to be done. New beginnings are delicate. Whether it's a career change, a new relationship, or a personal transformation, the moment you make it public, it becomes a spectacle. People start watching, questioning, giving advice you didn't ask for. They start weighing in on things they don't fully understand. And suddenly what was once a personal journey becomes something you have to explain, justify, or defend. The strongest transformations happen in quiet. They take root in silence. And by the time the world sees them, they are already unshakable. We all have a past. We all have things we aren't proud of, mistakes we wish we could undo, and sometimes sharing those mistakes feels like release, like a way to prove that we've grown, that we've moved forward. But not everyone will see it that way. Some will hold on to the worst version of you, refusing to acknowledge who you've become. Some will use it as a way to define you, to keep you in a box that no longer fits. The past is a lesson, not a life sentence, and not everyone deserves to hear the full story. Love is one of the most intimate parts of life, yet we live in a time where relationships are put on display. Every moment is shared. Anniversaries, surprises, small gestures, all curated for an audience. But love doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need validation. The strongest relationships aren't the ones that look perfect from the outside. They're the ones that are built in the quiet, in the moments no one else sees. Love is not a performance, it is a connection, and the most meaningful parts of it are the ones kept between two people, not the world. Fear is natural. We all have things that shake us, things that make us hesitate, and sometimes speaking them out loud gives them less power. But not everyone should know what scares you. Some will reassure you, help you push past it, others will use it against you, even without meaning to. The moment you expose your fears to the wrong person, you give them power over you. Strength isn't just about overcoming fear, it's about knowing who to trust with it. Beliefs shape who we are. They define how we see the world, how we move through life. And while sharing them can create connection, it can also create division. Not everyone is looking for understanding. Some are looking for conflict. Some want to debate, to challenge, not to listen. And sometimes the wisest thing you can do is hold your beliefs close. Not because they aren't strong enough to withstand argument, but because they don't need to be proven to anyone. Trust is a rare thing. It takes time to build, seconds to break, and sometimes a lifetime to repair. When someone confides in you, it's not a story for you to tell. When you give your trust to someone, it should be earned, not given freely, because once it's broken, it rarely returns to what it was. Ideas need protection. When they are new, they are vulnerable. The wrong words, the wrong reaction, the wrong moment can be enough to kill an idea before it even has a chance to grow. That's why the greatest creators, the most innovative minds, don't talk about what they're building until it's ready. They work in silence. They let their results speak for them, because by the time the world sees it, it's already too strong to be torn down. Struggles are part of life, and vulnerability is important. But not everyone you share with will understand. Some will listen to help, others will listen to compare, and some will listen to judge. The wrong audience can turn vulnerability into weakness. And while it's important to lean on the right people, it's just as important to know who those people actually are. There is a reason why the most powerful moments in life happen in stillness, because in the pause there is clarity, in the quiet there is strength, and in knowing when to speak and when to hold back, there is power. We all have things we keep to ourselves, not because we're hiding them, but because they're ours. The world tells us to share more, to be open, to let people in. But some things are too valuable to be put on display. Some things lose their power when exposed too soon. And some things, when shared with the wrong people, can be turned against us. When I was younger, I had this habit of telling everyone my plans. Every new idea, every goal, every project, I'd talk about it before I even took the first step. I thought saying it out loud made it more real, that sharing my excitement would push me forward. But what I learned over time is that words don't build momentum, action does. And when you talk about something before it's solid, you invite doubt, opinions, and pressure that can kill it before it even has a chance to take shape. Some of the best things I've done happened when I stopped announcing and started doing. Family is complicated. We all have good days and bad days, moments of connection and moments of frustration. There was a time when I vented about those frustrations, thinking I was just letting off steam. But what I didn't realize was that while I moved past those moments, the people I vented to held on to them. They saw only the bad because that's all I showed them. And suddenly their view of my family was built on incomplete stories, moments of anger without the context of love. And the importance of that is those are moments of built-in context though, right? I learned that not every frustration needs to be shared. Some things belong within the walls of home. Money changes things. I once made the mistake of being too open about it, about what I had, what I was earning, what I was spending, and I noticed how quickly people's behavior shifted. Some made assumptions, some had expectations, some started comparing. And I realized that money, whether you have a lot or a little, is one of those things that is best kept private, not because it's a secret, but because the moment people know, it stops being just a number and starts being a definition of who you are in their eyes. I once watched someone do something incredible, give generously to someone in need with no one around to see it. No cameras, no audience, just quiet kindness. And it made me think about how often we tie generosity to recognition, how sometimes the purity of a good deed is lost when we turn it into a performance. The most meaningful acts of kindness are the ones that don't need applause. They don't need to be posted, liked, or shared. They just need to be done. New beginnings are fragile. I remember taking a big leap in my career, and the first thing I wanted to do was tell everyone. I thought sharing it would make it feel more real. But the moment people knew, the pressure started. Questions, opinions, expectations. It wasn't just my journey anymore. It was something I had to explain, defend, prove. I learned that the strongest moves are made in silence, that when you build quietly, you give yourself space to grow without distraction. The past has a way of following us. There are things I've done, choices I've made that I once thought defined me. And for a while, I believed that sharing those mistakes openly would free me from them. But what I found was that not everyone listens with understanding. Some people don't see growth, they see labels. And once they put you in a box, it's hard to get out. The past is a lesson, but not everyone deserves a front row seat to your journey. Yeah. Love is personal. I've been in relationships where everything was public, every moment shared, every milestone broadcasted. And I've been in relationships that existed quietly, without the need for validation. And what I learned is that love doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need proof for the world. The strongest connections are the ones built in the quiet moments, the ones that don't need to be seen to be real. Fear is universal. I once told someone about something that scared me deeply, something personal, and I watched as they stored that information, tucked it away. Later, in a moment of conflict, they used it, not maliciously, not intentionally, but in a way that reminded me why not everyone should have access to your vulnerabilities. Not everyone listens to help. Some listen to hold power. And not every fear needs to be spoken out loud. Beliefs are deeply personal. I used to think that sharing them was a way to connect, to create understanding. But what I found is that not everyone listens to understand. Some listen to argue, to challenge, to tear down. And I realized that beliefs don't always need to be defended. They don't need to be debated. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is live by them quietly. Let them guide you without needing to prove them to anyone. Trust is delicate. I've given it too easily, and I've learned the hard way how quickly it can be broken. I've seen how something said in confidence can become a story passed around, how something shared in vulnerability can be used as leverage. And I've learned that trust, once lost, is rarely the same again. That not everyone needs to know everything. That protecting what matters most isn't about secrecy, it's about wisdom. Ideas need time to grow. I've had moments where I shared an idea too soon, and the wrong reaction crushed it before I even had a chance to explore it. Not because it was a bad idea, but because it wasn't ready. The best things I've created happen when I let them breathe first, when I gave them space to become something strong before letting the world weigh in. Struggles are real, and there's power in being vulnerable. But I've also learned that not everyone deserves access to your struggles. Some people listen to help, some listen to judge, and some listen to compare. And the wrong person can turn your pain into gossip, your hardship into a conversation starter. Knowing who to trust with your struggles is just as important as knowing when to share them. There is a reason why the most meaningful moments in life happen in the quiet, because silence isn't empty, it's full of strength. And in knowing what to share, when to share, and who to share it with, we don't just protect ourselves, we empower ourselves. There are moments in life when we feel an overwhelming urge to share, to let people in, to be understood, to express ourselves fully. But not everything is meant to be spoken. Some things are too fragile, too sacred, too powerful to be exposed to the world. We live in an era where oversharing is the norm, where our lives are on display, where validation is just a post away. And yet, some of the most meaningful parts of life are the ones we keep close, the ones we protect. Because once certain things are out in the open, we lose control over them. Have you ever had a dream that lit a fire inside you, an idea so exciting that you could feel it in your bones? The first instinct is to share it, to tell someone, to hear their excitement echo back at you. But not everyone will see what you see. Not everyone will believe in it the way you do. Some will poke holes in it, some will question it, some will unintentionally plant doubt in a place where there was once only, and suddenly that fire that burns so brightly starts to flicker. Because the wrong words at the wrong time can kill a dream before it ever has the chance to take shape. Some dreams need to be nurtured in silence until they're strong enough to stand on their own. Family is the foundation of who we are, but it's also messy, it's complicated. There are days of love and laughter, and there are days of frustration and misunderstanding. And in those tough moments, it's tempting to vent, to unload on a friend, to post something cryptic, to let the world know that things aren't perfect. But what happens next? You move past the fight. The anger fades. The love returns. But the people you told, they don't forget. They weren't there for the apology, the late night conversation, the hug that made everything okay again. They only saw the worst. And sometimes the damage to their perception is permanent. Some things are meant to stay within the walls of home. Money has a strange way of changing things. The way people treat you, the way they perceive you, the way they measure themselves against you. If you're doing well, suddenly expectations appear. If you're struggling, people may treat you differently. But at the end of the day, money isn't just numbers. It's deeply personal. I once learned the hard way that being too open about it invites unnecessary opinions, assumptions, and even resentment. Some things are better left unspoken, not because they are secrets, but because they are yours to control. We all want to be seen as good people, and when we do something kind, it feels natural to share it. We want others to know, to be inspired, to recognize that we are making a difference. But true kindness doesn't ask for applause. It doesn't need an audience. I once watched someone give everything they had to a stranger without a single soul knowing. No cameras, no posts, no credit. Just quiet generosity. And I realized then that the purest form of giving is the kind that exists in the shadows, the kind that expects nothing in return. New beginnings are some of the most exciting yet vulnerable moments in life. A new job, a new relationship, a big change. You want to tell the world, but the second people know, something shifts. The questions start, the opinions pour in. And suddenly your journey isn't just yours anymore. It's something you have to justify, explain, and prove. But when you build in silence, when you let your actions speak louder than your words, you take back that control. You grow without distraction. You succeed without the weight of expectation. We all have a past, mistakes we've made, choices we regret, and for some reason, we feel the need to explain ourselves, to prove that we've changed. But not everyone listens with an open heart. Some people will forever see you as the person you used to be, no matter how much you've grown. And that's why not every story needs to be told. Because your past doesn't define you. The lessons you take from it do. Love is one of the most intimate things in the world, yet we live in a time where relationships are put on display for everyone to see. Anniversaries, gifts, sweet moments, curated and posted for validation. But love isn't a performance. It's not about proving something to the world. The strongest relationships are the ones that exist in the quiet, in the moments no one else sees. Because love isn't built on what's shown, it's built on what's felt. Fear is a deeply personal thing. We all have them. Insecurities, doubts, things that make us hesitate. And sometimes sharing them feels like release, but not everyone should have access to what makes you vulnerable. Some people will hold your fears against you, intentionally or not. Some will remind you of them when you're trying to forget, and some will use them as leverage. Strength isn't about having no fears. It's about knowing who to trust with them. But there is a downside. The beliefs are at the core of who we are, and while we want to share them, not everyone is listening to understand. Some people just want to argue, to challenge, to break down what you stand for. And the truth is, not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion needs defending. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is live your truth quietly and let your actions speak for you. Trust is one of the most valuable things we have. It takes years to build, but only seconds to break. I've learned the hard way that not everyone who listens is worthy of knowing your deepest thoughts, your struggles, your hopes. Some people don't protect what you tell them. They pass it on. And once trust is broken, it never returns to what it was. That's why guarding it isn't about being closed off. It's about being wise. Ideas need time to grow. I've had moments where I was excited about something, shared it too soon, and watched as a single reaction. A doubtful look, a dismissive comment, crushed my enthusiasm. Not because the idea wasn't good, but because it wasn't ready to stand against doubt. The best ideas are the ones that are nurtured in silence, given time to take root before they are exposed to the world. Struggles are part of life, and while vulnerability is powerful, not everyone deserves access to your pain. Some will listen to understand, others will listen to judge. Some will listen just to compare their struggles to yours, and the wrong audience can turn your hardship into gossip. That's why knowing who to open up to is just as important as knowing when to speak. We often think power comes from speaking up, from being seen, from making our voices heard. But sometimes the real power is in restraint, in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, in understanding that some things lose their value when they're shared too soon, in realizing that true strength isn't about exposure, it's about control. There's a reason we feel uneasy after oversharing, why certain moments in life feel sacred and private. Not everything is meant for public consumption. Some things are stronger when they're protected, when they're allowed to grow in their own time, away from outside influence. The challenge isn't just knowing what to share, it's knowing when, how, and with whom. If you have a dream, resist the urge to announce it too soon. There's power in working in silence, in allowing your vision to take shape without interference. Every time you share an idea, you open it up to interpretation, to skepticism, to the influence of others who may not see what you see. If you must share, choose wisely. Share with those who will fuel your fire, not dampen it. Your family dynamics are personal. Every family has struggles, arguments, and moments of frustration, but airing those issues outside can cause more harm than good. The people you confide in don't experience the full picture, the laughter, the inside jokes, the unconditional love. Protect the relationships that matter by addressing issues where they belong, within the family. Be mindful of how you talk about money. Whether you're struggling or thriving, being too open can invite judgment, unwanted expectations, or even resentment. Keep your financial matters between yourself and those who truly need to know. Wealth isn't just about numbers, it's about how you handle it, and sometimes privacy is the greatest asset you have. Practice quiet generosity. Give not for the applause, but because it's the right thing to do. True generosity doesn't need validation. When you give anonymously, without expectation, you shift your focus from recognition to impact. You remind yourself that kindness isn't about perception, it's about action. When you start something new, let it unfold before you broadcast it. A fresh relationship, a new job, a major life change. These things need time to root themselves before they're exposed to the weight of outside opinions. Build first, then share. That way, when people have something to say, you're not looking for approval, you're simply letting them see what you've already created. Your past is your story, but not everyone deserves access to every chapter. Be selective about what you share and with whom. People who truly respect your growth will recognize who you are now, not just who you used to be. Your mistakes, your regrets, these are lessons for you, not material for others to define you by. Keep your relationships private, not secret. There's a difference. A relationship that thrives in private is one that is nurtured without the noise of the outside world. Love doesn't require validation from an audience. Focus on the bond you share, not the image you portray. Let the depth of your connection be the proof of its strength, not the number of likes it receives. Be intentional about who you share your fears with. Vulnerability is powerful, but only in the right hands. Some people will use what you tell them to support you, while others may use it against you. Before you open up, ask yourself, is this person a safe place for my fears? Will they help me grow, or will they remind me of my weaknesses when it serves them? Your beliefs don't need to be debated with everyone. Not every argument is worth your energy. Instead of trying to convince others, live in a way that reflects what you stand for. Your actions will always speak louder than your words. The people who are meant to understand will see your beliefs in how you live, not just in what you say. Trust is a currency. Spend it wisely. Be mindful of who you confide in. The more personal the information, the more valuable it is. If someone has broken your trust once, be cautious about giving them another chance with sensitive matters. Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and a lifetime to repair. Let your ideas mature before exposing them to the world. If you've ever shared an idea and felt deflated by someone's lack of enthusiasm, you understand how fragile new ideas can be. Give your vision time to grow, work on it, refine it, and when it's strong enough, then share it. That way, no one's reaction can shake your belief in it. Be selective with your struggles. There's a difference between seeking support and inviting unnecessary opinions. Not everyone deserves a window into your hardest moments. Choose people who listen with empathy, not judgment. Share with those who will lift you up, not those who will compare your pain to theirs. In a world that encourages sharing everything, power comes from knowing what to keep for yourself, not as a way of shutting people out, but as a way of preserving what's important. The most valuable things in life, dreams, relationships, beliefs, personal growth, don't need validation from the outside. They need care, protection, and time. Be intentional about what you share. Let your life speak through what you build, not just through what you say. In a world that often feels like it demands everything from us, there's something liberating about holding some things back. The act of choosing what to share and what to protect is not about hiding. It's about creating space for the things that truly matter to grow without interference. It's about giving yourself the freedom to nurture your dreams, your relationships, and your beliefs in a way that allows them to flourish at their own pace. There is power in silence, the quiet moments, the ones where you're not seeking approval, not asking for validation, not chasing the opinions of others, are often the ones where the most growth happens. When you stop chasing the noise and start focusing on what truly matters to you, you give yourself the chance to build something real, something meaningful. And the beauty of this approach is that it doesn't require anyone else's permission. You don't need to explain yourself, justify your choices, or defend your path. You get to decide what stays with you and what you're ready to share. You have the power to protect the parts of your life that are too precious to expose, and in doing so, you allow them to thrive in their own time. As you move through life, you'll come to realize that the things you choose not to share are often the things that give you the greatest strength. The more you protect your energy, your passions, and your purpose, the more you allow them to grow into something stronger, more resilient. And when the time is right, when you're ready, you'll share those parts of your life not because you need approval, but because they're ready to shine. Life isn't about constantly proving yourself to the world. It's about quietly building, silently growing, and trusting in your own path. The most impactful moments, the ones that truly shape us, often happen in those unspoken spaces. They are the quiet victories that don't need an audience to matter. So trust yourself, embrace the power of restraint, the strength in silence, and the beauty of allowing your dreams to grow quietly and powerfully. Because in the end, it's not what we share that defines us. It's what we choose to keep close, nurture, and protect.